Awesome. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. We are now live. So welcome. We are going to give folks a chance to come in. So we'll get started here in just about a minute or so. Certainly feel free to spread the word if you know of someone else who is interested in attending this webinar or would like to even just receive the playback of this webinar. Please feel free to share the link with them the same way that you were able to access this webinar. So again, we will get started here in just a second. So once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are greatly appreciative and do not take this lightly that you all have chosen to spend your afternoon with us for our Race and Education webinar. Once again, the topic for this webinar is supporting our HBCU student body presidents, and we're taking a special look or a special lens at our HBCU student body presidents here in the state of North Carolina. So once again, we'll get started in just about a minute. I do have a few folks that are coming in. Certainly feel free to use the chat and the Q&A function. If you have questions for our amazing panelists, we certainly encourage you to use the Q&A function to ask questions. If you would like to shout out your school, if you're here, I see some Aggies in the room. I am also a proud Aggie, no bias there. But we certainly are appreciative again of everyone being here. Please feel free to let us know who you are and where you're from. But once again, we will get started here in just a second. I see some Vikings in the house too, and hello from Virginia. Oh, and from California. Yes. Awesome. All right, well, it is 2:03. We will give folks a chance to continue to come in, but we do want to be mindful of your time. Yes, Viking Pride 3 times. We want to be mindful of your time, so we're greatly appreciative again of everyone taking time this afternoon. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sherelle Lawrence. I'm a program manager here at the Hunt Institute. We are greatly appreciative of you all joining us for our March Race and Education webinar. Once again, our webinar this month is focusing on supporting HBCU student body presidents with a special look at our HBCU presidents here in the state of North Carolina. If you are new to the Hunt Institute and our work, we welcome you. The Hunt Institute is committed to having honest conversations about issues of race that are embedded and those that impact public education. Our Race and Education webinar series is a way for us to uplift the voices of the people and organizations who have dedicated their time and resources to improving outcomes for people of color. Today, we're joined by 5 incredible student leaders who represent what we call the NC10. And so again, they represent the 10 historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, here within the state of North Carolina. I am now going to turn it over here in just a second to Amber. Amber Egodan is our moderator for the day. I'm super excited to have her leading this conversation. Amber is one of our leading fellows for the John M. Belk Impact Fellowship here at the Hunt Institute, and she works here at the Hunt Institute as a fellow supporting our finance, operations, and equity initiatives. Amber is a first-generation college student from Frederick, Maryland, who is currently majoring lecturing in public health at Durham Technical Community College. So shout out to the Durham Tech folks who are joining us today to support Amber as well. Amber has plans next year to transfer to NC Central University, one of our amazing HBCUs here in the state. So I'll now pass it over to Amber, who will get us started.
Thank you, Sherelle, for the welcome, and welcome everyone. We are excited about this conversation today. So let's go around and have all of our panelists introduce themselves. So we'll start with you, Sydney.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from Bronco Country. I'm Sydney Harris. I currently serve as a student body president for Fayetteville State University. I'm a senior communications major, Africana Studies minor. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Hey, good afternoon. Greetings from Aggie Land. My name is Verdant Julius, and I currently serve as the student body president here at the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. I am a senior biology and psychology student with aspirations to work in healthcare and center my work around equity. This year, I also serve as a fellow at the John and Belk Endowment, working with the NC10 project and also working with Novant Health on Bridges to Healthcare. And so thank you for having me here. And it's so good to see some familiar names from the NC10 convening that we had last year. So thank you.
And good afternoon. My name is Jimmy Chambers. I currently serve as the student body president at Elizabeth City State University. I'm a double major in criminal justice and homeland security, and it's great to be here with my peers.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nadia Marie Johnson. I'm the current student body president for Johnson C. Smith University. I'm from Augusta, Georgia. I am a communication arts major. I'm graduating in May 15th. I'm so excited about. Currently, I am an intern for the Ryan Seacrest Studios here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm a production intern, and we put on shows for children who have diseases and things like that. So I'm so excited to be here. So much to talk about, and yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you all so much. Oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Derek.
I am Derek Stanfield, a senior history and political science student at North Carolina Central University. I also have the privilege of serving as our student body president for this academic year, along with serving as a legislative engagement intern with the Hunt Institute as well.
Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. So through this conversation, I'll be asking each of you a question, and we encourage the audience to post questions in the Q&A section, and feel free to engage and react in the chat and comment section as well. So to go ahead and begin, our first question will be for Jimmy and Nadia. What motivates you to lead your student body?
What motivates me the most is just to advocate for them. You know, I love helping people. I love engaging with people. I'm a very people's person. Even whenever I started running for student leadership back in my freshman year, actually, it's something that I always had a passion for, is helping others, advocating for others. And that's what I'm doing. And it ultimately here. So what keeps me going is the drive to want my university to, you know, thrive on a bigger level than what it currently is. So that's what keeps me going, is the love for my students and my peers.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I transferred to Johnson C. Smith University from Augusta University when I became a sophomore. And when I got here, it was just so many different conversations about things that students wanted to see, different perspectives on different things going on at the university. And being that when I was a freshman, I didn't do anything social engagement on campus because I really wanted to go to an HBCU and I really didn't want to be there. And I said, I promise my next move will be me going to an HBCU and it'll be impacting students. So when I got there, I just saw the passion and the faith that people were putting into me, even though I had just gotten there as a transfer student. And I was like, okay, well, let me find a way where I can make an impact. Started with the sophomore class Senate, moved to being junior class president, and I'm now serving as the student body president. And I think I stand on the same things that Jimmy stands on, is just advocation. Like, I've been a person of speaking for people when I feel like they can't speak for themselves. Like, oh, do you need to return this? Well, it's not that big of a deal. I'll keep it. No, I'll call for you because we got to get your money back. So I'm that type of person. And so I use that same motivation when it comes to the students, and anything that they want to see, I'm down for it. And so I think just being that voice for the voiceless, because, some people don't want to, speak out. They don't want to be retaliated against or stuff like that. But me, I stand 100 in what it is that I do. So I think that type of leadership was necessary for this institution, and I'm still here doing it. And I hope that's where it goes in the future.
Thank you guys so much for sharing that. And definitely advocacy and support is much needed for the students. So I really appreciate you guys both stepping up and being these leaders. So to continue, so support can look different to everyone in their institutions as HBCU leaders. So Verdant and Derek, what forms of support are most beneficial to students in your role from your administration, student body, and community throughout the year?
Yeah, so when I thought about the student leader I wanted to be in this role, I was inspired by Angela Davis, who said, "You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you must do it all the time." But before coming into the role, I was a little bit nervous because I didn't know how accepted the administrators would be to radical thinking, to being a visionary thinker. But when I came into the role, I was amazed at the support I got from my administrators, because this whole year we have been able to work together and really embody what it means to have shared governance on our campus, where we have students, faculty, and staff sitting at the table, making decisions that benefits the whole student body and the entire school. And so through that support, they provided trainings. One of the initiatives that we did was a restorative justice pilot. And I'm still learning about that as we're implementing it. So to have our Title IX coordinator pay for trainings for us to come and learn what it means so we can implement that work. Having administrators come to our e-board meetings to see the things that we're discussing and providing means for us to accomplish that. And so I really thank my administrators at my school for the support they gave this year. It was surprising, but I'm grateful that I had it. And when it came to the student body in the community, I think I was most grateful for their support, because as SGA, sometimes when we say things or we do things, it's like SGA and versus administrators sometimes. So to have that support from the student body to say, hey, we support y'all and we see the work that y'all doing, so we're willing to stand and advocate alongside y'all, that was tremendous. And we were able to do a lot once we started to move as a collective. And before my role in the position, actually, I spent the summer in Greensboro, just getting to meet some community leaders and community organizations who have been instrumental in the work that we have been doing when it comes to shaping our ideas, when it comes to creating tangible solutions, and when it comes to really understanding that even though we're SGA, we don't just serve the students on our campus, but we serve the community that our school sits in. And so I really wanted to strengthen that relationship between the school and the Greensboro community so we can have an effective year. And it was amazing, the support we got. And if it wasn't for the support, the work that we wanted to do, we wouldn't have done it. So I'm thankful for that.
And I'll add to that. A lot of what I've done this year has just been organized around, one-on-one interpersonal support in terms of what we're doing with our student body. I think as a, SGA president and working in SGA, a lot of times we do get caught up in, overarching initiatives and projects of that nature that seem to be expansive, cover a wide range of topics. And those are good. And I think there's a lot of good work in doing that. But Nadia definitely hinted at it with her answer to the previous question, just reaching out to students to support them in the ways that, they see fit, whether it's a question or trouble they're having with a class or professor. Work like that is definitely something that I see as rewarding and what has worked for our student body. It definitely does take an amount of trust and collaboration with administrators along with community partners. That was another big thing for me as well. Coming in from being from Durham, North Carolina, having roots in the community, it was easy for me to connect with the city as a student, but I realized that our students coming from Maryland or out of state don't necessarily have that same connection. So that was another area that we really pushed for. And it's something that I feel like there's a lot of growth to move forward to in the future, but we definitely made way in this year.
I'm glad. Thank you guys so much for that. I think it's really important to notice what healthy support looks like in your community. So you all mentioning trusting administrators, reaching out for support, because a lot of the times, just like how Nadia mentioned earlier, voices can go unheard, and especially Black voices tend to go unheard oftentimes. So it's really important to have those systems of support in your school. So I'm glad you guys do have that and reach out for support. So to continue, so we see racial injustices happen all over the world, on the news and even in our own communities. The next question is for Fayetteville State University SGA President Sydney. How have you led your student body through the challenges of racial injustices, particularly those injustices towards Black students?
Absolutely. So being that we're an HBCU, we were founded on the principles that comes with being an SGA president. So that type of advocacy and being a leader, like Verdant said, in the community, and along with being a leader, within our own universities. But I think the biggest thing is just giving students a space to feel heard, because that comes with a lot. Just in the community, we feel like as if we aren't heard enough, or we need to raise our voices against what's being done and against the racial injustices that we see across the nation. So just providing a space. We have a free speech zone here at Fayetteville State. In the previous years, it hasn't been a big note upon our students to use or have some type of purpose within the free speech zone, but I think we've made a big impact in my administration on using the free speech zone and making sure students know what it's there for, know what they can and cannot do, what they when they can use it and how they can use it to their benefit whenever they see fit, and making sure that we're actually being a resource to administration and a bridge between not only students and administration, but students in the community, building that bridge as well. So those are just some of the things I think help our students feel more heard throughout these tough times.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely think it's important to make these spaces for students where we can use our voice, where we can speak up on topics where in other spaces we don't feel as comfortable doing so. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so to follow up from that question, Derek, how have you engaged your student body given the change in the school climate and environment?
It's definitely been a difficult task, and something that we saw early on into this year. We thought that, student leadership was, starting to die down and people were less interested. It's something that we just finished up our elections this week. So I can say that at NCCU, so our student leadership is back alive and, transitioning back to the state that it was prior to the pandemic. A lot of what we've done has just been around looking to continue to create experiences for students in a way that they're used to previously. And also, we've really been engaging with our first year, second year, and third year students who haven't necessarily had an authentic college experience, and creating a new experience for them in lieu of the pandemic. So, that has looked like shifting to virtual and hybrid events, which, some people don't necessarily favor, but we've tried to find a way to continue to increase interest. And also, asking our student body what exactly they're interested in seeing and giving them some of those experiences that they might have missed out on in the past.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's definitely been really tough times going remote and having to deal with everything going virtual. So I'm glad that your school was able to still make students feel welcome and comfortable and enjoy their time as college students. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so the next question is for Jimmy, SGA president at Elizabeth City State University. What is your role in attracting and recruiting students to your institution and HBCUs as a whole?
funny that you said that. During spring break, I actually went back to my high school, and I had the joy of, taking the pamphlets and, just educating, younger kids. I felt like I was a part of admissions, telling all the great things, about my university. Like I always say, like Elizabeth City State University is truly a hidden gem in the northeastern part of North Carolina, right? Like I personally wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for athletics, but we're changing that. We're more than just a university founded, on a teacher's college and all this other things. There's a whole lot of great things here at our university. We have an aviation program. We have a fully online homeland security degree that you can earn. Like there's so many like hidden gems. And for the longest, my university, we've been underfunded by the state, but we're now getting that funded like we see, from everybody else. And, I'm glad that we're getting that funds now. And I think it's ultimately going to continue the growth and the success of Elizabeth City State University. So that's kind of what I kind of do. Anytime I can talk about my university on any platform, I'm going to do it. It's Viking Pride 3 times.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so glad you had the experience to go back and recruit and promote your school. It's awesome. Does anyone else, any of our other panelists, want to share their experiences with that too?
Well, I haven't had any fun direct experiences like Jimmy, but I will say, I visited my hometown last week, which was what our spring break was, and I was talking to my friends that I made when I was at Augusta University and I transferred, and I talk to them about it and I tell them like, it's a better experience for me and that I have so much fun at Smith and making an impact because they knew how I was when I was there. I just really wanted to like move out of my hometown and do something different. And I know they felt that energy. So whenever I get a chance to talk about Smith and let them know what I'm doing, they see it and telling them, I get very excited and I let them know like this has been a life-changing step when I chose to transfer. And so I'm hoping that my story and all that it entails with that is encouraging to others to be able to do the same thing, not necessarily move out and do different things like I did, but make an impact to wherever you are. So I love talking about Smith. Smith is it's a very exciting place to be, especially being that it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Charlotte's only HBCU. So that is something to brag about, and all of the great things that Smith offers, being a part of the first HBCU football game, JCSU in Livingstone, and doing other great things in history is something that I love to talk about because Smith is what's developing my character and where I'm going in life. So I love it.
I'm glad you had such a great experience. And, I moved here actually from Maryland about a few months before the pandemic hit. So my transition was very difficult. But when I moved here and started to go to Durham Tech and just seeing how much people praise their schools that they go to and all the signs, the logos everywhere, it's just nonstop pride. So I really, really love that about North Carolina schools, and especially the schools that part of the NC10. It's great to see how much pride you guys all have in your schools. So to continue our conversation for today, so recent studies have actually shown an increase of student enrollment rates at schools like North Carolina A&T, NCCU, St. Aug, Fayetteville State University, Winston-Salem, and many more, just to name a few. So Sydney, what has been the most challenging aspect of this role, and how have you overcome these challenges?
It's actually been a few challenges, but not nothing. Of course, we haven't been able to power through, and of course, my support system, including these other 4 great student body presidents, they're always willing to help. We have a very good network of SGA presidents in the HBCU realm, so I think that definitely helps through those types of challenges. But the biggest challenge I faced was finding out how political a lot of university university occurrences are, for lack of better terms. With us being in the UNC system, which houses 17 institutions and 5 of those institutions are historically Black, I think it brings a new dynamic. So being in this position, you get to see both sides. You get to see the student side, the fun side, going to class, being a part of that pride, a part of that history, but you also get to see the administrative point, and just university structure overall. And that can come with a lot. You get to see, you have to be that liaison of being the bearer of bad news sometimes. You have to be the most hated on campus sometimes. And having to do that, but still keep my composure and still having to discover myself as a person, myself as a student, keeping that type of self-awareness. It can be hard to balance sometimes, but just some things I've had to do, especially with I have a very good relationship with my advisor, to the point where there were some times where I broke down in her office crying, like, I don't know what to do. Alumni are pulling me this way. Faculty and staff are telling me to do another thing. Administration wants me to do this. But always keeping in the back of my mind that alumni didn't vote for me as student body president. Faculty and staff didn't vote for me as student body president. The community didn't, and neither did the administration. The students voted for me, and I have a job and an obligation to do what I see fit is, in the best interest of the students. So I think that's the biggest thing, just keeping in mind that, and of course, like I said, having an amazing support group behind you.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And it is very difficult to open up about those challenges or to either break down, but I'm glad that you felt comfortable in that space and with your advisor to open up about all of that and your challenges that you're experiencing. So I really commend you, because it's difficult for us to open up about our challenges. Sometimes we're seen as weak or we can't handle it or things of that nature. But I'm glad you were able to, speak up about your challenges that you're having, but also stay firm in your position and why you were in this position for a reason. So thank you so much for sharing that. All righty. So as we mentioned earlier, North Carolina is the home of roughly 10% of the nation's HBCUs. The NC10 Initiative, launched by the Belk Endowment and the Center for Racial Equity in Education, focuses on uplifting the legacies of our 10 HBCUs. Verdant, how can initiatives like the NC10 continue to foster collaboration amongst future NC10 student body leaders?
Yes, so as a fellow for the John and Belk Endowment, I had the opportunity to attend the NC10 convening last year, and it was phenomenal. And when I say I never seen something so powerful, dynamic, and something so strong, like really come together and decide, hey, as the 10 HBCUs in North Carolina, we have a responsibility not just to ensure that our own individual universities are able to prosper and grow, but we have a responsibility to help and reach out to our friends, So as one university goes up, we should all be going up. And in leadership, sometimes it's easy to be consumed in your own individual agenda. And so one way I think that NC10 Initiative can really foster collaboration between the student body presidents is providing us a space to come together. So across the UNC system, the student body presidents meet each month and we talk about collective issues. But there are only 5 HBCUs represented. And so sometimes our voices can, go unheard or be neglected because, our 5 HBCUs aren't the focus. So I think the NC10 can really help establish a community. And when we dwell in that community, we're able to draw strength and the courage we need to advocate for the issues that are important and critical for the success of our universities. Jimmy mentioned that Elizabeth City has been underfunded, for over 10 years. And I seen an article explaining how all the HBCUs in North Carolina have been underfunded. And talking to the presidents in South Carolina, they have issues with having their schools underfunded. So imagine if we all came together and were able to organize our students around one central issue and aim. We can influence policy, we can change systems, we can even build new systems, and we can really advocate for our universities in a way that we aren't doing right now. And so I love how the NC10, all of the schools were able to come together and agree on a set of mission and values to guide the work that we do together. And so I think the NC10 will be phenomenal, not just for our institutions as a whole, but for the student leaders that represent the institutions as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Honestly, the NC10, I do think it will build, like you were saying, so many more spaces for community, building together, joining in together, going off of each other's ideas, just having everyone together and building that community and space for you all to speak on your institutions. So thank you so much for sharing that. So it's been great hearing everyone's responses thus far, and it shows what exceptional leaders each and every one of you guys are. So my next question is for Derek. What does success look like for you as student body president?
That's definitely a difficult question to answer. I'll say success is definitely multifaceted and something that will be different for each of us as student body president. It will be very difficult for me to, measure myself and my accomplishments in this position to any of the other, student body presidents on this call. And I definitely think it would be a disservice to all of us as well to, try to measure in that way. What I consider success to be in general, just as a student body president or someone involved in student leadership, is working to move our organization or, our goals from point A to point B, to the best of my ability during the 1-year term that I do have. And, that looks like, setting goals in terms of initiatives throughout the year, planning events to create services to give student services, and also, communicating with administration for changes to university policies and things like that. And even, the more interesting work of, going student by student and interacting with them in a way to see, the concerns that they may have. Whatever that looks like, though, on an individual level, I'll say it's just about advancing, the goal of student government, which is to advocate for students in whichever way that the student body president sees fit, and, doing that effectively during their term.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. Advocating for your students, I feel like is definitely number one. And then also just being a face for your students and then planning for future administration to keep the success up, to keep building and keep growing your student body as a whole and recruitment, everything of that nature. So thank you for sharing that with us, Derek. And so our next question, I'm gonna extend this out to each of our panelists. So I believe we do have some students in the audience who would like to know your answers to this question. So what advice do you have for those considering leading their student body in future years?
I'll start us off with this one. Definitely know yourself and know that what someone else did may not work for you, and that's something that I had to tell myself, what might work for someone else is not going to always work for me. So I would, even the person after me, I'm going to tell them, everyone has their own manual. Yes, I can give you advice. Yes, I'm make sure you know everybody, but do whatever you think is best for you. You're your own leader, you're your own person. So that's one thing that I believe that any leader should know, that you're your own person, stand on your core values, your foundation, whatever it is, stand on that.
Now,
Yeah.
really quick, I'll say definitely organize, the idea around you running or, considering student leadership in any way. Because the student leadership isn't just limited to any position. That's a big thing to note. But it's just about, understanding your why for the work that you're doing. A lot of what we do is, thankless work. And it's just, your long hours in the office and things of that nature. But if you have that why, and it's a really good reason for, why you're doing what you're doing, whether it be advocacy, whether it be, a specific issue that your campus faces that you want to work to solve, whatever that may be, just keeping that in your mind and, pushing through. And in times where, you feel like things aren't going the best, remembering that why, pushing forward.
Yes, I definitely agree with staying organized, remembering your why, and also staying true to who you are. Because in this role, you're hearing the expectations from your advisors, from your administrators, from your board of trustees, from your friends, and everyone else. And so it's easy to get lost in that. But one thing I would say is definitely understand that your name, it's your name before your position. So I'm not SJ President Verdant Julius. I'm Verdant Julius and SJ President. And I've seen a lot of times people allow the position to separate them from the people who voted them in. And so if you ever do have the opportunity to serve as a student leader or SJ president on campus, be sure that you have that, you stay personable, right? You stay true to your values, that you still talk to people, that you still say hi, because it's so easy to really lose that genuine and pure intentions when you're busy doing work, because you're getting frustrated. You have all these other things to do, but always remember the people who voted for you, because those are going to be the people rooting for you throughout the whole way. And those are going to be the people that are there for you when you're out the position. So definitely understand that you are yourself before the position. The position does not make you. Like Derek said, you can be a leader without it. You just have to find the courage to stand up and speak on something that you don't like. So I would definitely say that.
Yeah, definitely to add on to Jimmy and Verdant's piece. For one, what worked, like Jimmy said, what worked for somebody in the past isn't necessarily going to work for you, especially in the realm of higher education and HBCUs. It's a very fast-paced environment. Things can happen like that, as of course we've seen with the pandemic. The pandemic hit really out of the blue, so we had to move in a very fast-paced way. And even with alumni and former student body presidents, predecessors, trying to tell me what direction I should go in and telling me what to do, instead of asking me, hey, what is the current culture on campus? Because I know it's not the same from when you were here, you know? So it's a very fast-paced environment, and don't be afraid to, like Verdant said, just stay in the loop, stay in the group, go out and actually like talk to your students. It's really easy to get caught up in the logistics of being SGA president and having to serve in different capacities and show your face here and represent there. But always remember that your first obligation are the students who are currently on campus. And a lot of things, like Jimmy said, student body presidents from the past can always give you advice, but culture is like very, very fast moving. So just stay in the loop in that aspect.
Yeah, so I definitely want to just play off of what everyone said and even add this. I mean, when I became elected, it was surprising to me because, again, like I just came out of nowhere in the middle of, being a sophomore and stuff like that. So I didn't think it was possible. So my piece is that start wherever you're at. I mean, I was just a transfer student. No one really knew who I was. And it was just like, I was like, let me try it. So I started, at the bottom level, and I don't mean bottom in derogatory. I mean, like as like a council member. And then I just worked my way up so that I could have some type of knowledge about what was going on and where do I need to put myself. And so that was really important. Be yourself, like everyone said, because honestly, like if there wasn't so many ways to publicize that, okay, well, Nadia is SGA president, Nadia is doing this for y'all, Nadia is this, Nadia is that, I would probably blend in with everybody else because I had to keep myself together as one person, because a lot of times when you get the opportunity to be in high positions and say, and make decisions and things like that, people was like, oh, she thinks she all that, or she thinks she controls something or something. And it's not like that. So just be yourself, learn to work with others. That's a big thing, because you'll meet a lot of different personalities, because remember, in SGA, it's not just you. It'll be other individuals, even in any leadership position, it'll be other individuals you have to work with, and still be yourself and still do things in a way where it's coming off as you're trying to make this a community thing and not necessarily about yourself. What others do doesn't work for you. You just have to find your own path, and you have to develop what it is that will mean something to you in the long run, create a legacy, do great things on campus. And another piece I've been telling the cabinet that's about to come in, we're doing elections now, no one has voted yet or anything like that, but I just told them, I don't make promises. I get up there and I tell them I'm going to do the best that I can. But if I get up there and I make promises, I'm going to change this, I'm going to do that, and then none of that gets done because of things that are out of my control, then now everybody pointing at me like, didn't you say you were going to do that? So I always say, don't make promises. And lastly, this may seem a little, out of the ballpark, but I don't see myself as a university ambassador completely. I'm here for the students. That's the voice that I represent. Like, I miss JCSU and I miss the JCSU. They're the ambassadors, but me, I'm here for students. I don't sit here to put on the front in alum meetings and committee meetings, whatever. It's just as raw as it gets. And I think that is probably the best way I can say, just be yourself, start wherever you're at, create your own new plan, and you're not a university ambassador, you're there for the students. So.
Awesome. Awesome.
Go ahead, Sarah.
No, I was going to say that is absolutely awesome feedback from each of you. And I don't know if the audience is feeling this, but the passion that comes from each of you and the work that you do, I think is amazing. One, for you to be young student leaders, but two, for you to really, I think we heard from each of you that, you stand firm in representing the students. And I think that is always most important. If there's any takeaway from that, that is the best piece of advice that I heard from each of you is remain, stay in your calling and remember who got you there and why you're there, right? The work that you're meant to do in that role and in any leadership role. So we do have a couple of questions from the chat. So I did want to jump in, and then Amber, I'll pass it back to you to wrap us up. But I did want to make sure that we were able to answer some of the questions that came in. So I know that some of you on the call are members of the University of North Carolina's Association of Student Governments. And so the question from John Michael Lee Jr. asked if there is an initiative that any of you maybe work on, and potentially through that collaborative organization that you work on to benefit all HBCU presidents. So is there an initiative that maybe all of you have a chance, even I know you all mentioned that many of you are friends. So are there any initiatives that you all are working on amongst the five of you, or even with the other 5 HBCU presidents to support all students in all HBCU students in North Carolina? And so I'll open that to see if anyone wants to answer that.
I'll lead off, and then I could let my other fellow presidents add on if I miss anything. So I think we're able to answer 2 questions with this one. So in terms of the platform that UNC ASG creates, that is an opportunity for all 17 of the UNC system institutions, 16 of them being higher education institutions, to collaborate in a space. So we're able to interact with majority white institutions as well in that space. And in terms of, the specific initiatives that platform allows us to create, there are a few ongoing that we have. So every semester, one big thing that ASG does within our HBCU and MSI committee is a fall and spring initiative focused solely on HBCUs. So last semester, the goal was to prop up our food banks on campus, and if there were any institutions that didn't have food banks that were operated by either their university or student leaders, that was something that we sought to create through that platform. And this semester, I believe we're continuing to work on that area. Also, there's going to be an HBCU town hall where we're able to collaborate with all HBCUs in the UNC system and invite students that are interested in attending HBCUs from high schools and middle schools, and create a platform for them to hear from our experiences being student leaders and also just being students as well about what each school in the system has to offer.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love how you kind of tied into the other question I was going to ask of the interaction that you all have with the other schools here in the state of North Carolina, those who may be labeled as predominantly white institutions or other minority serving institutions. So love the work that is happening from there. I think, that's certainly work that is very important and much needed across the state. I do want to be mindful of time and some of the questions that we do have. So one question that came up in the chat that I am personally curious in hearing just a quick snippet from each of you, but how do you plan to continue your leadership or your legacy in the advocacy work that you're doing? Love that question. And Verdant, before you say that you're going to take over and be the next president of the United States, what else are you going to do?
Yes, I would love to be president of the United States. Again, I'm a biology student. So at heart, my passion is in healthcare work, addressing healthcare equity. And one thing I would say this experience really gave me was understanding how to advocate and serve. And I can use that when I'm advocating for my patients. And I don't want to be the kind of physician that just provides medicine and sends people back out to the environments that make them sick. I want to be the type of doctor who's able to provide clinical care, but is also able to use that narrative to shape policies, to help create new systems that better serve the underserved, and also to really advance healthcare to a system that we have yet to see, but that we truly deserve. And so I really want to leverage that aspect in my personal career, in my professional career, but in my own personal life, just being able to have deep capacity of compassion for others, and just finding out little ways I can serve people, right? Whether it be like opening a door for someone, or whether it be helping someone with the like application, just being able to have a level of care for others that is just bigger than myself. I think that will help transform my personal life as well as my professional life with the skills that I was given in this position, just to see others.
Absolutely. I don't want to be president of the United States. I'm not about to do that, but shout out to Verdant. I'll vote for you. But like, I'm actually getting my master's degree in higher education student affairs. I'll be attending Texas A&M in the fall. So that's one thing I would be doing, just continuing my passion for student affairs overall. I've being student body president helped me discover my passion for student affairs, because for the longest I was in communications and I was like, I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be a radio talk show host. I don't want to do any of that. And I was like, well, this is a pretty broad major. I could go into anything I want to. And then of course, through student body president and student leadership overall, I learned the structure of universities. And of course, with HBCUs being underfunded, continuing that type of advocacy on a larger level, working with PWIs and different university systems across the nation to kind of, for one, bring awareness, and two, change the dynamic that we have behind HBCUs, not even from just the government type level, but the level starting from the students on up. So bringing my passion to other students and helping other students discover their passion as well in the higher education realm. So that's just, I guess that's my way of channeling my passion into my career. So.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share? I don't want to say, yes, Nadia, I see you.
Yeah, so I want to continue the work in any way possible. Just like Vernon said, even if it's just in the community, opening a door, doing something nice. But I was thinking the other day, I am going to get my master's of comm or whatnot, and I plan to use that to just keep moving up the ladder to hopefully become an HBCU president. That's like the last step of everything that I plan to do, and that's the laundry list. But I think that being in, this type of position, it helped me to understand like how the structure works, like Sydney said, and being able to say, okay, well, at the end of the day, we might be doing a lot at our universities, but the students are the central focus. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the conversations with administration and stuff like that. Like literally, it's not about you, it's about us. And so I want to push that continuously. I have a lot of different career goals at this moment that will all work together, but I think like my end goal is to do that, and is to continue like the legacy of HBCUs. I don't want to necessarily dive back into, any other communities, only because I see that there is some type of gap in funding, gap in support, gap in so many different ways for HBCUs, and I would like to get back in that way. So the advocacy will continue. I'm heading to a master's program. I'm choosing between a few right now who have offered me full rides, and I know, and 2 of them are Ivy Leagues, and I already can tell that I am going to be the only person of color in that space, just by conversation. And I think that this is where I'm going to throw all of my HBCU experience in their faces. Like, this is what I've done. Okay, so that is my answer to everything. The work will continue.
Yes, the legacy continues. I love it. Derek, Jimmy, either one of you want to pop in? No pressure. No pressure. Well, I do want to still save time for one more question before we wrap up. So another question that came through in our Q&A was actually asking about some outside resources. So are there any resources that you all are familiar with or that you've connected with, whether it be community partnerships or organizations that you've connected with that you think are super helpful for someone in your role as a student body president moving forward? Yeah, so any kind of thoughts there, or other outside experiences that you've had that you felt like have helped you develop as well this year?
I'll start us off. Definitely community leaders. When it comes to, like, the county's NAACP, helping us with funding, different voting initiatives, things like that. Especially when it comes to voting. I'm a voter freak. I love voting. Like, anything to do with voting, you got my attention there. But when it comes to voting, and the last presidential election, in North Carolina, every single county that a HBCU is housed in won the Democratic vote for President Biden. And that was huge, especially here in Elizabeth City. It was very huge for us because, we won by, I believe it was 8 or 9 votes. And that was because of our students and, getting them out to let them understand how much power voting has, and I feel like, during the other presidential election, some people kind of lost that hope of voting. But this last presidential election, I think it actually showed, especially the younger generation, that how much power that is actually in voting. And that's all I got to say. Making sure, the community is behind you as well. Because, we serve our communities. So therefore, making sure that, you have those partnerships with the community, because, we bring a lot of money into the communities, but make sure as well that they're pouring back into you as well. So that's what I just got to say.
But I wanted to add, shout out to the beloved community center. Shout out to Advance Carolina and the North Carolina Black Alliance. Shout out to Common Cause for really, really taking a passion in student leadership and supporting us throughout it. Because I know sometimes when we couldn't get the resources and support from the school, it was like, okay, I know a friend who I can call and set this up. So I'm thankful for those people who also helped us advocate too. So when we were confused, when we were lost at some points, we had other people to provide perspective. And the beloved community center, they've been in Greensboro since the 90s, and they've always worked closely with our SGA at A&T. And so they do that because they want to ensure that SGA is staying true to the values of what it means to advocate and serve, and not just use this position for individual celebrity aspirations. So I thank those organizations for really cultivating our passion for radical transformation and change in our communities, and to really organize students around a common issue.
Yeah, and then my last little piece, I promise. I think each one of our campuses, Black Voter Matters, I believe came on every one of our campus. So Miss Danielle Brown, her and her team, phenomenal jobs, like they said, helping us with funding when we didn't have it to do certain things when it comes to certain initiatives. It played a very, very huge key. And I'm so thankful for her and anybody else who ever helped me along my way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
Yes, Sydney.
My bad. I can also attest, absolutely, Jimmy is definitely a voting freak. Shout out to him. But yeah, Common Cause definitely helped a lot with just some of the visions we had during the period of voting, during elections, and even this local election we have coming up. But also university board of trustees, you're gonna have a love-hate relationship with certain board of trustees, certain members. but the entire aspect of board of trustees, you'll have a love-hate relationship. But a lot of them, if you develop relationships with them, especially if you want to go into higher education or any type of community leadership, they hold some weight when it comes to you being developing personally and in your student body president role. They can help a lot. They have a lot of experience regardless of how they vote in those meetings. So that's been a big aspect of trying to help me and further my experience as student body president and after graduation. A big thing is post-graduation. So tap into the board.
Wonderful. Nadia, yes, I didn't want to leave you out there.
Oh, I'm gonna be honest, like I don't know if we have support because a lot of the stuff that we get done here, it's really off of our backs, I would just say, because I know that we get some support from the Charlotte alumni chapter, but I would love to be in tune with some of these organizations that are helping you guys out, because we would definitely appreciate it. So I'm just being completely transparent, having that type of support. We talked about being underfunded, and I am going to say that we are. And I would love to connect with those who you guys have been a part of to help JCSU get to there. I'm sure there are some initiatives, but again, with the chain of communication, if I don't know, my cabinet doesn't know, yeah, it's just, yeah. So I appreciate you guys for sharing. Thank you.
No, you're totally right. And I will do a not so shameless plug. You all have heard that, please reach out to the team at JCSU. They need support. And I think, if we had more time, I would have loved to even get into that of, just the challenges of being a public versus a private HBCU, right? Especially here in North Carolina. And so I think you have certainly opened the door, hopefully, to a future webinar. Maybe we can talk about that in the future, of something where we can get you all back on, or the folks to come after you. We can certainly have them come in, but I definitely want to bring attention to that. The fact that, our public HBCUs, they do get a lot of love because, you're a part of a public entity. And so there's a lot of information out there about those colleges and universities, but some of our private schools, a lot of our private schools need love too. And so, of course, if you all in the audience know of any resources, please certainly feel free to share those our way. We will connect and make those much needed connections across the board. So again, super appreciative of everybody taking the time this afternoon. Amber, any wrapping up, like follow-up notes or comments or thoughts from you before I close us out?
I just want to say thank you to everyone, the panelists. It was great hearing everyone's responses, advice that you have for future leaders as well, and what support looks like to other administrators and how they can support you and provide resources. So thank you all so much for sharing that with us. And then also our viewers too. Thank you for being here and asking these great questions for us. So thank you all so much.
Yes. Again, on behalf of the Hunt Institute, thank you, Nadia, for sharing your information. For anyone who is registered on this particular webinar, if you did register to view, we will make sure that we share the contact information of our panelists with you, along with their school information, so that you can reach out to any of them at their institutions. I would be remiss if I did not share some of the upcoming things on behalf of the Hunt Institute that we have coming up. So I will take it over to, yes, our screen here. So we do have a couple of webinars coming up that we wanted to share, making sure that you all know. The first of which coming up next in April, we have a webinar that will be focused on neurodiversity and early childhood development. That is a special focus on supporting children and parents. And so we have an awesome lineup there. You will also receive that if you registered for this, you will see that there. And then the Hunt Institute as a whole, we have a few webinars coming up. Our next one being next week on Tuesday, March 29th. It is a a collaboration across the continuum. So looking at higher education and how we can prepare the early childhood education workforce. We also have a webinar on April 5th. So Tuesday, April 5th, our early efforts team, and another one the following Tuesday on post-secondary pathways. So we certainly encourage you all to register. Follow us on Twitter. We are at Hunt_Institute. So at Hunt_Institute on Twitter for all of our activities, upcoming things that are happening, webinars, and all of the great work that is happening here at the Hunt Institute. So once again, I am so grateful for our amazing panelists. We thank you for your time today, and we thank all of our amazing viewers for their time. So everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, and make it a great year, everybody. Take care.